My name is Vijay Jain. I'm a medical director of the Amrit Ayurveda for Total Wellbeing, situated in Salt Springs, Florida. My passion is Ayurveda, as it provides us tools on how to bring the most important input into our body through the sense of taste. Obviously, I'm talking about digestion, nutrition, metabolism, what to bring into the body, how to bring it, when to bring it, and what not to bring. So it's a large topic, but today we are going to discuss as to what to bring into the body in the form of different foods, and we'll show you some dishes which will fall into either a tridoshic dish, which means that it's good for all constitution types, or it may fall into a vata, pitta or kapha dish. So we'll inform you as we go along as to how you can convert a particular dish into a different dish by adding different ingredients. So that's all Ayurvedic cooking is to how to modify those dishes by use of spices, by use of certain ingredients that you can make it work for any particular constitution. With me is Chandrakant. He's our chef, and he's going to demonstrate most of those dishes. We'll start with some equipment first to show you what equipment is required if you are going to be short of time and you need to cook it quickly. In front of me is a pressure cooker. It is an electric pressure cooker which you can get it from Amazon. It's called Instant Pot, and I've done some research. This is one of the best. It has got settings for different types of foods, including poultry, soup, meat, stew, beans and chilies, saute, rice, multigrain, porridge, steam. So it has got multiple settings in it. The thing I like about it is you can set it at the time when you want it to start. And you have up to 2 hours you can delay the cooking, and once it is cooked it will turn off automatically and will keep the food warm inside it. So that is the part I like, that if you are going out somewhere or you're going to work and you want to have it start 2 hours later, cook it in about an hour or so, and then keep it warm. When you come home, you've got the food ready. The other equipment which I am showing is a rice cooker. It has got a steamer inside it, so if you want to steam some vegetables which are not a big quantity, you can steam in that. I use those steamed vegetables many times to even make my broths from leftovers vegetables which I have not used. Sometimes I use those steamed vegetables to saute later on with some spices. So it's a very handy equipment. Of course, the main purpose is to have rice cooked in it, and it cooks it perfectly. It is automatic. It will turn off automatically and keep the rice warm for the several hours afterwards.
Well, we also wanted to show you a couple of other pieces of equipment that may help you save time and for any style of cooking that you're doing. And obviously we just heard about this wonderful electric pressure cooker. This is a stovetop pressure cooker, and I wanted to say a few words about it because I find them to be very, 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 very helpful. But most of the time, you old school people, oh no, I've never heard of a report of any one of these blowing up ever, because they have certain safety valves on them, and then I'm going to show you in just a moment. So you've put some water in the bottom, and you bring that water up to a boil, and it builds up pressure where these little safety valves pop up, and this handy dandy little weighted device, which as you see just doesn't pop right off, when the pressure becomes 15 pounds, it starts going. And what that's doing is that's letting off anything above 15 pounds of pressure. So if it really got somehow hot in here, this little rubber valve pops up and it would just blow out, and not like a bullet, but blow out, and the pressure would come down just almost immediately. If at any point you needed to lower the pressure in the pot for some reason, you just take the pot and put it underneath the sink and it comes right down in a minute or two. You can always let out a little pressure manually by going as opposed to okay? Now, to use a pressure cooker, you want to try and get the most out of it, and some of our Indian lady friends have come up with this little device where you can put two pots. I could put beans in here, I could put rice in here, I could do khichdi in here, I could do vegetables in here if I wanted to, and then they actually stack one on top of the other. But the problem is if that's hot, oh my God, how am I going to get that in and out of there? They also have available in most all Indian stores this handy dandy little device. Looks like a big pair of pliers where you just reach into the pot and it goes in and out without any problem. You don't burn your hands. It's completely managed. You can put the other one right on top, seat it down, put the little lid on top, and each pot has its own ingredient and the appropriate amount of water. So when you close it up, the water overall in the pot heats everything, the water inside those little pans, and in about 15 minutes you have khichdi, which is a cooked dal and rice together, which takes on the stovetop a little bit more time than that, okay? So you may consider this as saving you time. I know that a lot of us, when we come home from a long day at work, don't want to spend hours and hours, just waiting for a pot. So either one of these pressure cookers is going to save you a tremendous amount of time and let you attend to other things on the stovetop while this is taking care of itself, okay? So that's something that I think you would find very, very helpful. Dr. Jain also mentioned the handiness of being able to steam things prior to sauteing. I don't know about you, but we've all had soups and stews where vegetables go in and some are just cooked to mush and others are still crunchy. Steaming them allows you to get it to the texture that you want so that everything in the final dish is at the same crunchiness. In Asian stores, they have little bamboo baskets that stack up. You could do something similar to that. But this is handy. This is available in almost all supermarkets. Put a little water in the pot. Put your vegetables in, bring it up to a boil, turn it down. It's covered. You're able to look and put a fork into anything that you're cooking in here. If you're not doing too much, you can split half and half with two different ingredients. So having a small steamer like this is also a very, very handy way because steam cooks quicker than boiling so that you can get vegetables at the texture that you want, that your family enjoys for a final dish. So not a very expensive kind of way to go, but very, very helpful in the end. Most all cooking shows and cooking people will tell you that a chef with a sharp knife is a happy chef. They will probably also mention to you that dull knives are even more dangerous than sharp knives because you're really leaning into it, and that's when it goes left or right, and things can happen on the cutting board that require Band-Aids. So investing in a knife is investing in longer term happiness. Cheap knives usually go dull quicker. Okay, some of the things to look for in knives, there you can see the shank goes all the way through. You have 3 rivets that hold the handle on, a handle that's can take some use, not necessarily abuse, and you'll see here there's a little finger guard that goes here. And the proper way that you want to hold a knife is not back here, sort of like you're just ready to go at it, but you actually hold between the thumb and the index finger. This keeps the blade from going left and right. Okay, so you can see now I have control over the knife as opposed to the knife can do some unpredictable kinds of things. Oftentimes you can find knives with these little indentations here, and this helps a little bit when you're cutting vegetables that they don't stick quite as much when they have these little devices in here. Again, a sharp knife of all sizes is really, really helpful. And finally, in all the cooking that you'll do, you'll see we're grating something, and having a nice little hand grater, you'll see us be putting some sweetener into pots jaggery that needs to be grated a little bit. So something small and manageable as opposed to some of the big, more pyramid looking ones. So knives are very important. They help you with your safety. They make things go quicker, and I think you'll find it's well worth the investment. Lastly is what is referred to as a steel, and because we are plant-based folks, there's not a lot of cutting through bone and heavy kinds of things of that nature, but most folks, when they're cutting vegetables, they'll go across the cutting board like this. It's a sound I can hear from way across the kitchen, and blades don't blunt. What tends to happen is that they'll roll one way or the other. It's starting to roll, and you may have noticed that your knife, if you hold it a little bit on the edge, it cuts better. It's because the fine edge has rolled. Well, a steel allows you to bring that rolled edge back into proper alignment. So you want to have some kind of a steel, whether it's a big one or a small one. Even if you're in desperate needs, you can even use the back of another knife. But you want to have some attentiveness so when you're cutting vegetables, turn the knife over and then slide the vegetables off to the side. Cutting, slicing, and moving them to the side with the back edge of the knife. All right. The reason that we're telling you all these things now is so that we don't have to go through it in each cooking segment. Another piece of equipment, not necessarily very expensive, but this allows you to grind your own spices. It allows you to grind ginger and garlic, okay? Cardamom seeds, you can grind everything here just very, very quickly by pulsing. It has another attachment, and this attachment just goes right on the top. Another attachment is very handy. Rather than trying to get things out of a pot hot into a blender and it always, pops up in the this goes right in a hot pot and will puree whatever's in that pot. And you'll see us use this with some of the dal recipes to make it a little smoother and creamier. Again, there's a number of variations on this, from moderately priced to expensive. This is one of the more moderately priced ones, but it's just held up fine for the years that I've been using it. In case you're wanting to grind spices, you can always use your coffee grinder, so don't feel like you have to just go out and buy something special. Just clean it out so you don't, whatever you're grinding doesn't take on your espresso bean aroma. And finally, because Ayurveda, as Dr. Jain was saying, is being able to adjust what you put into the pots according to your temperament, your dosha. Everybody has a little bit different relationship of the spices and flavorings that we're going to put in. Again, from our dear Indian lady friends, for centuries they have used this spice box arrangement. You can put any spices that you want in here that you use in your family. It comes with a little spoon, and this is also available through our website at amritkala.org. You just go to the website and go to store, and Malai has got a number of these. And as we go on, you'll find out which spices that we are using and which spices we will encourage you to increase or decrease, which would give you a better notion of what you would put in your spice box. Don't feel limited to just one. Obviously, there are more spices available in Ayurvedic cooking that's appropriate, and you may want to have a second spice box for those herbs and spices that you're not using, that doesn't fit into this one here. Okay, so that should give you an idea of some of the equipment that we are suggesting that you consider getting so that this becomes as easy and as simple as possible. It's obviously, it's a little bit more involved than just opening up an instant this or that, but the outcome that you get, as Dr. Jain was saying, what you're putting into your body is significantly different. So we're hoping that having a little bit of this equipment will help you reduce the time and hubbub and to-do that seems to come around cooking, so that you're not spending an inordinate amount of time making something that's healthy for yourself. So this is a not made for TV cooking with two guys, all right? So as we were talking about spice boxes, which I made a mistake and said it's available at amritkala.com, Dr. Jain said, well, wait, because remember I said you may want more than one box? Dr. Jain and Michelle, you have two boxes, so I thought I'd let him show you what's in these boxes and give you a little bit of an intro to the tastes that are involved in Ayurvedic cooking and how these spices relate to that.
So in Ayurveda, the food is considered as medicine and medicine is considered as food. There's no difference between food and medicine. In that effort, Ayurveda says if your food is good, then you don't need the medicine, and if your food is good, you don't need the medicine. If your food is not good, then medicine won't help. So one of the most important contribution from Ayurveda is the concept of 6 tastes, that we need those 6 tastes in every meal. And as Chandrakant will show you, demonstrate the different ingredients, I want to make sure that you understand the 6 tastes of sweet, salt, sour, pungent, bitter, and astringent taste. So even in spices we have some of that taste. So here I've got a spice cumin, which is pungent, mustard, which is pungent, fenugreek and turmeric, which are bitter in taste. I've got here mango powder, which is sweet, sour in taste. Then I've got salt in here. So you can have, even in spices, you can have different taste. Of course, salt, you want to use either Himalayan salt or pink salt or sea salt. I also have cloves here, which are again pungent in taste. So there are different tastes here. As we go along, I will, when you mix the ingredients, I'll tell what taste we are working with and what taste we are adding.
And how, if you need to adjust according to your constitution, what you would do more of or less of.
Correct. So should we leave them open?
Okay.
Okay.
All right, so I thought what we would do next is cut a few vegetables, which I'm imagining everybody has cut some vegetables, but I ran into somebody very recently who said to me, I've never bought a butternut squash. So I'm imagining that there are probably some folks that don't know how to even cut a butternut squash. So I thought I'd show you a few things that may add some interest in the shapes that you have in your final dish, and also how to cut without going into a big hubbub and to-do about it, all right? So the first thing I have here is a carrot, and we're all familiar with carrots. This is some of our macrobiotic friends who have a Japanese flair for things, and how things are presented is is important. If it looks good to your eye, it's starting to set some, oh, this is good for me. The first one I'm going to show you is called Kimpira, and it's like sharpening a pencil. So I would cut and roll, cut and roll, cut and roll. So I'm just rotating the carrot like a quarter turn each time and shaving off the back of the knife, shaving off these little pieces which look much more interesting than just sometimes slices, all right? So there's one technique that you can use. Sometimes in stews or in soups, you want something a little bit heartier. And again, we have a technique, and I'll show you with this carrot, called roll cut. So now I'm making a little bit bigger chunks. And all I'm doing is along this surface, I'm choosing about the same spot, rolling a quarter turn. Okay, and so here we have a little bit different, and you can see, again, rather than just always going with slices, nothing wrong with slices, it gives a little bit more interest when you put it together with other vegetables. Oftentimes, you'll see the angle cut. But I usually think about, that's kind of big to put in. So what to do? Well, one of the things that you can do is cut them into matchsticks. Very simple. Again, might be nice in a salad, could be nice in a grain dish. And at the same time, in many of our Indian dishes, you'll see that we tend to, and notice I try to keep the vegetable together in the same configuration as I started. Now you can just simply make small, little, diced carrots, okay? Now, of course, you could do this with zucchini, works okay. You could do it with any hard root vegetable, works okay. But I thought just because everybody is carrot familiar, I thought I'd show you a little bit of what we can do with just one little carrot, and at the same time add some extra interest and variety to any of the dishes that you're working with. And let's see, I'll just put those carrots in here. All right. Another thing that I wanted to show you was oftentimes we as Americans start just whacking off this butt and throw it away. This is also a part of the whole energy of cauliflower. Macrobiotic people, not only as food medicine, but they see it as energy. And we're sort of throwing away found a base and as long a kind of energy, and as long as this isn't split, and you've probably seen that, if it's split, you don't want to use it. The leaves are also usable, okay? So you can simply begin to thin slice this, thin slice it the other way, and all of a sudden, here you have small cauliflower pieces that can go in any dish, could be sauteed, can go in soups. And I don't know, I'm old enough to remember, I think my mother used to say there was starving people in India. And India has transformed tremendously, but think of all the people in the camps in Syria. How would any of those people who have eaten for a few days throw this in the trash? So be attentive. There's more and more sort of ecological attentiveness going into restaurants, throwing food away. Look for a way that you can use the whole vegetable.
In India, they used to say that people starving in China.
Everybody has somewhere, right?
I think it is the strategy for moms to make you finish your dish completely.
You know, what an app. If we could just create an app of hungry people, so India could send to China, China could send to India, we could send to Syria, it would be a wonderful thing, all right? So a lot of times people will just whack into this, and nothing wrong with sort of fan kind of, you know, sort of fans of cauliflower if that's what you want. But at the same time, you may want to have something that looks a little bit more flowerette-esque, all right? So I'm cutting out the butt, which I will do the same thing here eventually with what's going on then here. But now you just go in here and you break these apart. And can you see the difference between this and that? Not a big to-do, not a big hubbub and this and that, but you may want to learn how to, you know, vary the look of your dish by varying the kind of cut that you're doing. So it always makes your food look a little bit more interesting when you can vary the cut rather than it looks like it has come out of a machine and it all looks pretty much just cut the same. Okay, can you see that? You'll see this again going into one of the dishes that we'll have in this series. So it's not, I don't need to send it away. We'll be eating it a little later. Celery, everybody knows, you know, if you turn it up on end, you get the Chinese restaurant cut, yes? Not a big revelation, but also to match, if you noticed when we did these small tiny carrots, you might not want to do this kind of a celery cut. Okay, you can see the sort of juxtaposition. So one of the things that I'll do is simply and again, the more you can keep vegetables together, the nicer the cuts are going to be, the more organized you are on your board and you're not chasing things all around. You'll notice that I have my fingertips out of the way and I'm putting the knife against the knuckles rather than having my tips out, and you'll have to call me nubby in a very short period of time. All right. And there you have something that's a little bit more of a match. I could even make those a little bit teenier, tinier. Okay? So a little bit on celery, how you can vary your cut and make your dishes, because carrots are carrots and celery is celery, but it looks a little different and it has a little different eye appeal. So you start from a little bit different place as opposed to all your vegetables look like they were food processed. All right, let's do cabbage. Again, I'm doing cabbage simply because I want you to see keeping the vegetable together helps you go faster, okay? So we won't do the whole head. I'll just go in here and do a little bit. Okay. Again, we can take this out and small cut it. Now think of the way this vegetable goes together. It goes together in layers, so I don't have to worry too much about that. And if I keep it all together and come in here and cut this, I'm keeping the cabbage together rather than letting it spread all out on the board. And with my fingers, I'm still kind of keeping it together right down to the end. And there you have, you can see how quickly that went. And there's one portion of cabbage, and you've cut that in just less than a minute. Okay? And do you have a vegetable peeler? Okay. Greens are a very important part of what you want to include in your daily diet. They have a bit of bitterness to them. And bitter is not a taste that we as Americans kind of gravitate towards. But it's very important with regard to the 6 tastes. So including greens in what you do is going to be adding a part of that taste, and they're also loaded with, I think, B12s, a number of other things. You can always Google that, but you'll see if you look towards the food folks, putting more greens in your diet is going to be very helpful. But they also can be somewhat time consuming. So I just wanted to show you a couple of things that can help you save some time. Oftentimes people will just take the kale right off the stem by simply pulling it like just between your fingers, and it comes, the stemmy part comes right off. Okay? And again, I'm going to just keep this together as best I can. And then cutting board slipping away here. If your cutting board keeps slipping, then simply put a towel underneath it. Okay? So you can see there's some greens, and we have now collards don't quite do that, but you can fold it in half, and very quickly you just taken it out, unfold it. And again, you'll see the importance of keeping things together helps it go much quicker. So I can do this, this, and now all right, and there you have enough greens for at least 2 people tonight at dinner. Now that leaves, excuse me, some of these stems. And remember I had mentioned earlier that our macrobiotic friends see vegetables as a whole energy. So we got the leaves energy, but there's a spine energy, there's a centered energy in this vegetable also. So what we want to do is be able to, I like angle cuts because the macrobiotic friends will explain that there's energy in the earth and there's energy above, so you want a little bit of both. So they cut things on an angle, and you just might not be able to see because of these other vegetables. Thin slice. You want to thin slice these stems, and when you put that all in the pot, it's going to steam up. The reason you want them thin is because they'll cook at about the same time as the leaves, okay? So that gives you a little bit of an idea of what you can do, and as you'll see, we'll make some recipes with that a little later on in this series. Just going to put that right around our cabbage. All right, now the moment we've all been waiting for.
Not coming.
You don't have a vegetable peeler?
I have this.
A cheese peeler. Okay, here, I'll take care of it. A vegetable peeler is what helps this go a little bit quicker, which I forgot to bring one. And this is one of those jobs for a little bit bigger knife. And what's going to be helpful is if you put the tip of the knife down so it's on the board. I got some control. Okay? And you can see as they go together, there's this bulbous part in the bottom has some seeds in it, and the top part doesn't, okay? So we're going to take this top off, and what we'll simply do is, let's use this knife. We'll simply use a knife to go down the edge and take off this skin. If you were going to bake this, you could put it in the oven. After you slice it, you could cut this in half, turn it down with a little water on the pan. Yeah, they're tough, but not for a sharp knife. All right, so the next thing I'm recommending that you do is you go to the supermarket and you get a sharp vegetable peeler so you don't have to do what I just did. How about that? All right, nice enough. We have the trash. All right. So again, I'm just going to simply cut this down the middle. And in 1/2, I'm going to steady and come down again. Steady and come down again. Now you can see that it's a little thicker here than here, so I'll make these thinner and I'll make these thicker. And these are going to show up in a white bean and butternut squash hummus that we're going to make. So you'll see these guys again. All right, so cubes, pretty easy. You can also you want to try to keep your slices the same thickness, that way they cook at the same rate. So if there's some are thin and some are thick, remember we talked about some things being done and some things still being crunchy. Keeping it stacked up as best you can, and there you have a little bit different shape that you could roast these, which you might see a little bit later on in this series, and they'll be having some flavoring on the outside. Okay? Last but not least, just any pan will do. You have a, I can put, no, that's all right. I can put it right here with the celery. No problem. Onions add flavor and character to cooking. Again, you want to try to remember the geometry of the vegetable that you're cutting. Taking off the peel. Okay, thank you. Now again, you know that what's going on here is layer after layer after layer. So all I have to do is come in here and on an angle, work my way around using the center of the onion as the radius, and again, everything is still together as opposed to laying out all over the board and I'm chasing it, and then I'm simply holding with fingertips curled under. And there you go. Any few pieces that are left over on the end, just cut them up. And there you've diced diced onions in just a matter of minutes, and they look pretty uniform and nice. Okay, could be used in a stir fry, could be used in soup, any way that you like. Okay, does that make sense? All right, and the last two pieces of information that I wanted to show you before we close out this segment, again, comes from our macrobiotic friends. And you probably recognize that when you go by Farmer's Field, if you have the opportunity to do that, that they're putting chemicals, they're putting fertilizers, they're trying to recharge the earth with nutrient, because through constant farming, the nutrient has been leached out. and we rarely let fields lie fallow. And again, our macrobiotic friends have given us a tip of how to get some of that mineral content back into our food by using sea vegetables. And what you're seeing here is a wild Atlantic kombu, and in all the beans that we'll be cooking on this series, there's going to be some kombu. Kombu usually comes in some big sheets like this, of one size or another, and you just take some scissors, and you can cut a piece right off and put this in the pot, in the pressure cooker with your beans. And you know, sometimes beans, what was about the musical fruit, all that, you know, sometimes they can be a little gas producing. Well, when you put some sea vegetable, and the mineral content from sea vegetables helps with some of the tendency for them to be gassy. So get some kombu and it doesn't have a strong taste. It's probably one of the lighter tastes sea vegetables, so that you have a way to begin to bring some mineral content back into the foods that you eat. And we're also going to use a little bit of aramay in some of our dishes. And an aramay is another sea vegetable, but this one looks a little darker. It's a little more flavor. It looks like these wild threads. And what you want to do is simply lay it out on a pan and, kind of make sure there's no seashells in it or anything of that nature. Put it in a pot just like I'm doing. We're going to put some of that onion that we cooked in here, cover it with water and cook it until it's soft, and then drain it. And then in that cooked form, we will add it into some of our salads and in some of our vegetable dishes. And again, it's another way to begin to put back some of the mineral content that we've lost through some of the agricultural techniques that we've been overusing through the years. So I think, Dr. Jain, you have anything you want to add here at the end?
No. Do you want me to introduce them to what different tastes are before you start cooking?
Well, why don't we do that so that in this beginning piece, we know this might be a little lengthy, but we want you to be able to refer to this again and again. The cooking pieces we want to try to make a little bit shorter, but having a clear understanding of the taste will help you, with Dr. Jain's guidance, begin to be able to adjust what you put in your pots. Because this is not, you're not going to get recipes. This is the way Mataji taught me. When I first tried to learn Indian cooking with her, she was putting things, I said, wait, how much is that? How much? She said, 3 fingers. And I said, whoa, your fingers are smaller than mine. How do I? And she just looked at me like, calm down, pal, and just said, just watch. So what you're going to do while we're cooking is just watch, because you'll have some explanation of why we're putting things in and how you can adjust it to your taste. So understanding those 6 tastes is very important. So Dr. Jain?
Yeah, so let's start with the taste of sweet. Sweet is everything that looks white. So for example, any flour, any bean flour, any rice flour, any grains, any dairy, any nuts flours, any oils. So not only white color but also liquid oily stuff. So all oils are sweet. Then of course you've got fruits which are sweet, but they may have another taste combined with that. So sweet is one of the most common taste we consume. Most of us, especially in United States, we consume 90% of our food as sweet. While Ayurveda says that not more than 80% should be consumed as sweet, but again based on different constitution. Because sweet taste, it will decrease Vata dosha or Vata humor. Vata is based in air. Sweet taste is made up of water and earth, therefore it pacifies Vata humor and Pitta, which is fire humor, but it increases the kapha humor or people who have a kapha constitution. Salt is self-explanatory, but there are many different kinds of salts. The salts we do not use are table salt because that has been refined and it is pure sodium chloride. In Ayurveda we use either rock salt or pink salt, or we may even use black salt which has got some sulfur in it. We may use sea salt and Himalayan salt. These are all different varieties of salt. Of course, if you look in the literature, there are about 130 varieties of salt from different parts of the world.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So every one of them is got salt, but not only sodium chloride, but it may have calcium chloride and magnesium chloride and other minerals which are essential for our survival. So sodium chloride alone is not good, so we do not use table salt as much. There are certain salt substitutes or salt-like substances like Bragg's liquid amino, which is based in soya, and it is amino acids which come out of soya and they taste like salt, which are very good for people who are pitta constitution or kapha constitution. Salt will pacify vata humor but will increase pitta and kapha constitution. The third taste is sour, and sour is in all our citrus fruits, all our fermented foods like aged cheeses, like vinegar, like even meat. In Ayurveda we consider as sweet and sour because it has been left for a long time. If it was fresh, it may be more sweet, but as it ages, it becomes more sour. Sour is also your pickles, and anything which is pickled or fermented will be sour. White wine, for example, will be sour. Some of the beer will be sweet and sour and maybe even bitter depending upon the amount of hops you're using in the beer. Coming to the taste of pungent, pungent is all our spices, and I showed you some spices earlier, but heating spices are mustard, cumin, chilies of all kinds, white chili, black chili, the green chili and white chili, or peppers, white pepper, black pepper, green pepper, all those are heating spices. In the heating spices we also have jalapenos, habaneros, and all the other types of peppers. The cooling spices are coriander, fennel, basil, and some of the Italian spices will be in that also. Something like oregano and thyme will also, dill will also form in that. Mint and peppermint will also fall into that category. But mint and peppermint also have a little bit of taste of bitter in them. So again, the spices are used according to the constitution. A fiery constitution like pitta should not use too much of heating spices, but they can use cooling spices. While a kapha can use heating spices, a vata should be careful with either cooling or heating spices, not use too much, in moderation. Bitter taste is anything which is leafy green vegetables. So the lettuce, the broccoli, all your kale, spinach, Brussels sprouts, asparagus, these are all will fall into bitter vegetables. There are bitter spices also, which I showed you, fenugreek and turmeric, which fall into bitter spices, which are extremely beneficial spices, actually considered as the king of spices. Turmeric is considered as king of spices because not only medicinal value of anti-inflammatory antiviral, antibiotic, but it also has tonic variety and detoxifying quality to the turmeric spice and fenugreek spice. Spices is probably one of the most important things which we want to impress upon you during this short segment, because spices will make your food taste better, but also will make it according to your constitution, with whether it is adequate or not. Then we come to astringent taste. In the bitter taste, I forgot hops in beer are also bitter, coffee is bitter, and cocoa is bitter. In astringent taste, which is one we use the least, is which puckers your mouth and dries your mouth when you eat it. So it has tannins. Anything which has got tannins will have astringent taste. So all your fruits, if they are unripe, will have a little bit of astringent taste in them. So apple, which is unripe, will have astringent taste and sweet taste. So we need to learn which fruits have astringent taste. Like pomegranate has a astringent taste. Cranberry has a astringent taste. So those are important to know, because those fruits are good for people with kapha constitution. Astringent and bitter is not a very good taste for vatas, because it will increase vata. The astringent taste is also seen in all beans. All small to large beans have sweet and astringent taste. The smaller the bean, the more astringent it is. Harder the bean, the more astringent it is. So those are the basic qualities of beans. Tea is also astringent. Red wine will be astringent. So those in short are different tastes, and we'll now show you the symphony of all these tastes, how to make a dish out of these so that you can enjoy them.
Good, thank you very much. We'll see you when we start cooking.